Well, I am waiting for Mr. Ink Guy. Where are you, Mr. Ink Guy? Oh, Mr. Ink Guy. Hello, Ms. Darling. I'm waiting for an Ink Guy. Where is he? Where is Mr. Ink Guy? There you are. You're right there. Makeup on. All set to come in. Invite. So this will just be a one-on-one for the moment, Marilyn, and then once we get our glossary down, I'll invite others to come in. If I don't completely destroy my house first. Ink Guy, did you see the link that you need to press? Calligraphy paper. It's my cheat sheet. Mr. Ink Guy, are you here? Are you reading me? Am I being read? Should I throw this out? It says actually hardly a drop of ink in it. Oh, there you are, an ink guy. Add to stream. Hello.
Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Is there any kind of echo, anything like that we have to worry about?
Nope, not at the moment.
Okay, then that's good news for me.
Then we are good to go.
This is more difficult than I thought to try and set up.
Oh, here, I'm sorry.
No, it's quite all right.
It looks good to me, sorta, kinda.
Well, I'm going in through my phone. This is why I don't really live stream.
I see. Okay. Well, you sound fine, and so far, I think you will be easy enough to see what you're doing. So, I think it'll work.
I'm looking at what the delay is between what I do and what's on camera. Am I looking to see if it's upside down? It's sideways and weird, but whatever. It works.
I think sideways and weird is fine, just so you see front ways and from.
I like drawing some superheroes. I made I went and found a nice reference of Spider-Man.
Okay.
And figured as we work through this, then I will work at inking, and if it gets that far, putting some watercolor to Spider-Man.
Oh, good. Great. Well, I don't know how many of my followers are going to follow me, but what I will do when we are ready to start is ask you to describe, in your videos, you use a number of terms to describe the important parts of one ink over another. And what are they? What are those terms?
Well, I tend to start on the back of the page, but I'm thinking of changing that in the future.
Okay.
And I do, bleeding and ghosting first.
Okay. So bleeding. So bleeding is if I put a line down and I see the line spread, that's bleeding.
Hold on, because I brought writing stuff with me to help this out.
Okay, well,
so,
I didn't mean to jump right into it. I thought that would.
No. Bleeding is, well, see, it's going to come up here in a second. Kind of starts like this on the back of the page, but it's when it's then touching the page underneath.
Okay. So
where this is ghosting.
Okay.
Right. And it's obviously very heavy into the paper. It's not great paper.
Okay. So ghosting is the recto, the verso of the recto.
Yes.
The back of the single sheet of paper.
Yes.
Is ghosting, and then bleeding is what you would say if it went to the page below that.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, that's what I'm thinking of for it.
That makes sense. And feathering would be then if it's pulling out into the fibers of the paper.
Yeah. On the writing side.
On the writing side. Okay. So maybe I was thinking of ghosting and bleeding as being the same thing. So you have ghosting and you have bleeding. And
the only reason I treat them different is there's inexpensive papers that I actually enjoy, but they have a lot of ghost.
Yeah.
But as long as they don't bleed, it may be very tolerable.
I see. Okay. Cool.
Like the reporter pads.
Yeah.
So Portage has these reporter pads that I really like,
Yeah.
but they can, depending on your ink, they can ghost a fair bit.
Okay.
And depending on your ink, you may or may not be able to write on the back of that page.
I see. Okay.
Well, on a reporter pad, is that a big deal?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
if somebody, go ahead.
no, you know, I am not I'm the least concerned about a lot of these things most of the time, because
Yeah.
when I draw or I do calligraphy, I'm only doing it on one side anyway, and I'll probably end up scanning it in, so I don't really care what happens on the back. But
Mm-hmm.
for journal keepers, of course, that's important for them. And you know, more and more of my pen customers and people that watch me are journalists, we'll call them.
Yeah.
So that is an important factor to them. Um, but you know, but there's so many goddamn things to have to juggle. You know, you've got the pen. A sharp point will be cause the paper to tear, the fibers of the paper to tear, maybe, or um, a pen that puts out a lot of ink on good paper, it doesn't make any difference, but on bad paper, it'll bleed and ghost and make a mess anyway. So it's sort of tough doing what you
Yeah.
do.
Well, the biggest, my biggest issue is color correction.
Okay.
So color correcting the video is the biggest pain, really,
Okay.
because
Okay.
so the paper sometimes doesn't look like the right color
Yeah.
because I'm trying to make the ink look like the right color.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's trying to say what's the important part, you know?
Oh dear. That's a completely different headache that I didn't even think you bothered with, but I can see, of course you did. But then what I see on my computer monitor is not what you see on yours. And, you know, it's all
Yeah, well,
are
yeah,
different.
and I get those comments from people about all, you know, whether everybody's monitor is corrected the same way and on and on and on. But you want to know what? There's only so much I can do.
No, I don't want you to do. I mean, you're doing way more than I'm thinking. Even the color correcting that you're doing is more than I think you need to do. Um,
No, but what I'm saying is I can't worry about what your monitor shows,
no, of course not.
so I don't.
Oh, good. I'm
You know,
glad you don't.
I color correct my monitor about once a month I calibrate it,
Yeah.
my monitor about once a month to try and make sure I can do the best I can on it.
Yeah.
And then I sit there and I'm holding a piece of paper up to the monitor to try and get the color as close as I can. I know it's never going to be perfect. I don't worry
Well,
about whether it really is.
it's I'm amazed. I mean, I'm not amazed. I could tell that this is what that you're very serious about what you're doing.
No, I'm not. That's the thing.
Well, you're a lot more serious than I thought.
No. Honestly, I'm just screwing around and having fun.
Okay. Oh, good. Well, I know how to do that.
And yeah, and I'm spending more time, I think, learning how to edit videos and doing all of that. That has become its own hobby, really.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that I don't do anything with. You get the hiccups and the burps and the goddammits when I drop something. I don't. I would never. It would never stop if I started editing. So
Yeah.
I just let people see how the sausage is made. But you clearly have a lot of fun. I sense, especially with your commercials for 1995, and you'll throw another one in for free.
Yeah.
Just shipping and handling. You are a you're a showman.
Well, you know what that started as? I was trying to create enough commercials to throw in as ads in these videos and have a fair amount of rotation
I see.
of them.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't get as many done as I thought I could,
Okay.
so I abandoned it. But
Okay.
I thought some of them were very funny.
They are funny.
And my favorite one was the duct tape.
Uh-huh. I don't remember if I saw that one. I saw.
I actually I think it's the stapler that has tape in it, but
Oh, okay. I'll take a look. I saw that there was a bunch, and I watched.
there's a duct tape moment that when my brother saw, he was dying.
Okay. Well, I'll have to look at that. Now, I think someone told me that you are a teacher in
It's
real.
one of the things I do. I am a teacher.
Um, uh, what is another thing you do?
My brother and I own a motorcycle repair shop,
Okay.
so I don't fix bikes. That's not something I can do. You know, that's something he does.
Let's see.
I do the books and all that kinds of stuff.
I see.
Yeah, I teach, but my students every year, I work very hard at this with them. I
Yeah.
get them to stop thinking of me as a teacher. I am a mathematician,
Okay.
and I just get to talk to young people about math, something I enjoy.
Okay. Neat. I've been
So,
watching Number File on YouTube the last couple of days.
okay.
They're really fun. And Vi, whatever her name is, the woman that cooks the turducken, you know her. Vi, what is her name? You must know her.
I think I know who you're talking about. That's a faceless channel, right?
Yes, you see her hands,
Yeah,
and hear her voice,
yeah,
and you sometimes see the back of her head. But
yeah. Another good one if you enjoy that stuff actually is the singing banana.
oh dear, I'll look that up right now. Um, the singing banana, A-N-A, singing banana.
Yeah.
Oh, so is that? Oh, is that one of him?
Well, there's a group that was, I want to say, there more or less that uh
Because this
did a
guy
whole bunch of
he's in the matho. He's in the number file thing,
yeah.
and he looks like he just loves math. Of course he does.
Hmm.
And I love people that are really enthusiastic about the subject that they're teaching. And you know, you sense that with him, and you sense that with some other folks. So I'll be selfish. Let's say I wanted a black ink that flowed very well, did not feather or bleed. What ink would you recommend that I can draw very fast sketch with?
I'm using platinum carbon black. I use it a lot to draw.
Okay.
The only thing is like you see, well, it'll come up here in a second. I'm getting it on my hand and on the paper, but I don't tend to care a whole lot.
Yeah. But you're also,
Like I don't.
yeah,
Go ahead.
you tend to be drawing very relatively slowly as you're
Yeah.
pulling the pen across the page.
Well, and I'm trying to pay attention because I know I have to go back. I have to fix some lines like right here.
Yeah.
It's going to come up in a second where I know I need it a little thicker,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to not press hard
Okay.
because I want some thinner lines.
Do you ever sketch like really fast?
Yeah.
Move the pen. Does that ink hold up? Keep going, or does it skip?
It's not having any problems keeping up with
Oh, good.
what I'm doing,
Okay,
but
good.
I'm going to start, you're going to start seeing a bunch of S's there, and it keeps up without a problem. To be fair, and I actually chose this pen on purpose. It's an Ahab.
Okay.
I like drawing with the Ahab.
Okay. It's, I like a dark ink, saturated ink, I'll say, but it really has to flow fast.
Yeah.
And certain inks don't, no noodler ink can keep up with me. So I was just, and the
No,
carbon,
I've watched some of your drawing, and you draw very fast.
yeah. So it's, my go-to ink is almost always Waterman, and I know it's not permanent, and I know, that's an issue for a lot of people, but for me, I'd rather do, 6 quicker drawings that are going to last, make me smile for the as long as it takes me to draw them, than to have to draw slower
Yeah.
and end up just getting angry because I can't draw fast enough. So it's very interesting what we like, and I'm also write that way. I also do calligraphy that way, and part of the reason that I'm able to get really fine lines in my calligraphy is because I go fast.
Yeah.
And when I try to make every downstroke thick, and I end up going slow, my thins are never as thin as I want them to be, and they also are jiggly.
Yeah. Well, you see, I've got some jiggly lines here from trying to go a little slower.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of figure drawing.
Okay.
And so when you're doing figure drawing and you're on a clock,
Yeah.
you start going fast.
Yeah. Well, fast is always good for me. It's, I have to do slow, ponderous, careful, exact work for work. And I just want to have fun when I do sketching. And it doesn't mean that I can't be careful and draw slow sometimes, but I don't want to have to do that. I want to have more fun. So, but you're a color person, I mean, you like all these different color inks. Is your art in color as well, normally, or
Normally, really, pencil.
pencil? Oh, wow.
I like mostly doing like portraits in pencil.
Okay.
So I knew very early on, I don't get to make a living doing art.
Okay, good.
People don't want pencil drawings,
Well, it's too bad because I love pencil drawings, but they tend to look maybe not as done as a pen drawing is, or as a painting would be. A lot of people think of them as being, a sketch, not a drawing. It's not art. It's what goes into making art, the sketches.
Yeah.
And I just find sketches so much more interesting than the finished paintings. You see the thought processes of the artist in the drawings, especially if they're trying to work out something. You see where they erased the leg and put it somewhere else. And
I always like seeing. I really like seeing people's messed up art. It is like I like seeing the uncorrected versions. That would be
yeah.
So before they're digitally corrected and all of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because nothing will make you feel better about what you make than seeing people that are considered like the best. And when you can see all of the correction areas and then you go, okay, mine's really not so bad.
Yeah. Well, there's a painting in Minneapolis at the Art Institute of Matisse, and it's this great painting where he drew this guy on a path with a butterfly net or something, and it shows where he initially put the leg and he crossed it out, and or he didn't cross it out. He just painted Minneapolis, and never corrected the one. Okay, no, Matisse, 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 Minneapolis, images. It's right here. It's this. Fuck. I don't want to see. You see the ghosted leg there?
Yeah.
It's just really neat, you know. I mean, he really did change the painting a lot, because I don't think the whole top of the half of the body would work if that's where his leg was. So anyway, oh, watercolor now.
Yeah. Come on, watercolor's fun. I hated it as a kid, though.
Yeah. I'm trying to learn watercolor, and when I'm relaxed and not doing anything important, it's okay. When I am trying to do something, it sucks. And that generally works for really anything I do. You know, when I being paid for it, it doesn't work. But when I'm just having fun, so I should just have fun. But I'm trying to learn. I've been watching a lot of tutorials about watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
They're really they're great. Watercolor is so because of the medium, because of the physics of water and paper and bleeding and all of the stuff that it does, because of nature and capillary action and diffusion or whatever it is, it can look so good when it's left to it by itself, you know, the way it bleeds and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind seeing a little bit of that in a painting that someone did, but when I see that it's just a bunch of tricks, you know, where the watercolor is doing almost all the work rather than the artist composing the picture and choosing the colors and things like that, it just sometimes they look too tricky. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And does that make sense?
No, when
You
you're
know,
you're talking about when it's like it's wet into wet.
it's well, I mean, it's yes, wet into wet. Sometimes when it's used a lot, um, it's like, you know, when you hear cymbals crashing in a orchestra piece, you know, they use it once or twice. You know, if you used it every measure, it wouldn't. It's too much, and
Yeah.
sometimes watercolor seems like it's too much. You know, when they have these when they let these things occur more, you know, and it's hard for me to describe. I'm sorry. It's it's like uh, it's like when you see on a computer generated image on some sort of movie, and you think, oh my God, how did they do that? That's so cool, or whatever. Then you forget the plot because you're trapped in this looking at the effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So anyway, it's a little hump I have to get over. Um, and part of learning how to do watercolor is to learn how wet on wet works, or wet on dry, or letting it dry and then putting wet on dry. You know, all of that is really, really important um, to learn when to do one kind of, when to apply a second layer, you know, and have it look right. Um, it's just when I see that one element used more than I think it could be, should be, maybe, it just seems too much of a good thing. Now I saw orange before. Where did that go? Or did I
No,
maybe?
there was orange, but I put it in just to try and shade
Oh, I see.
some.
There was orange. Okay, I just moved my eye away, and I thought, well, where did the orange go? So, okay, so you're building up layers of color.
Yeah, but there's only so much. This is like mixed media paper, so there's
Yeah,
really only so much you can do.
yeah, yeah. Cool.
This was stuff I don't think I put into any of the reviews, was art papers.
Yeah,
I did mess
yeah,
with them, but I never put them. I don't think I put them into the reviews. I could be wrong.
yeah. There, God, there's so many, and uh, it's really tough. I have a lot of watercolor paper, and some of it works really well, some of it's really crappy, and of course I can't remember what any of them are now. So um, uh, I'm going to ask our audience if there's any questions for you specifically. Gary, do you have, or Will, or Ms. Marilyn, you have a question for the expert?
Hardly an expert.
You, do you have questions for an ink guy? Not the ink guy.
No, not the ink guy. The ink guy sounds pretentious.
Yes, I know. Where are you from?
Right now, Florida.
Florida. Okay. And originally?
Originally, Mississippi.
Okay. There's a certain Midwestern sounding to your.
No. I grew up in New Jersey.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what you hear
That's
as
probably
far as
okay.
there's something like an accent that's there, but I can't place it. That's what you're getting.
Okay. Gary Scott asks, I was wondering why you measure viscosity. Why you measure viscosity and how?
I use a tilt test. It's really like it's like a middle school science project, really.
Okay.
But I started doing that because I kept hearing people talk about this is wet, this is dry. So I have a video on that, on doing that. But
Okay.
basically, I started with the idea, of what did people mean by this wet and dry all the time. So I started doing this viscosity test, and I know it's not perfect.
Uh-huh.
I know that what's going on in that test is not perfect, but it was the best I could come up with without spending a fortune on machines or massive amounts of ink to do better testing. And then, so I was just curious really what people meant by wet and dry. So sometimes an ink that people call dry is actually pretty normal or even is wet.
Yeah.
That's what started the whole viscosity thing for me.
So viscosity is how wet an ink is and how wet it stays, or how wet it is and how it dribbles down the page when you tilt it. I mean, I can't imagine this working when you're actually writing with a pen. It doesn't put out that much ink, does it?
No. So the thing that I actually have learned through as many that I've done is that, like, people are going to say, well, they want a really wet ink, but what they really want is an ink that creates a nice buffer layer of liquid under the nib.
Huh.
So sometimes an ink is dry, but actually is thick, so it gives a good buffer layer. So after this year, I'm not doing the viscosity test anymore. I've learned what I needed to from it.
Okay.
But I think people, when they watch the videos, are looking for something entirely different.
Okay.
As an answer. Like, how wet it is doesn't necessarily it should be telling us how well it is actually flowing out of the pen, but that doesn't mean that it's good.
Yeah.
That a very wet ink is really what's.
Ms. Marilyn wants to join us. Shall we let her?
Absolutely.
Okay, here you are,
But
Ms. Marilyn. I need to get some water in me. So here's Ms. Marilyn. Add stream.
12 p.m. 12 p.m. Hello,
Hello.
everybody. So, viscosity, the definition of viscosity is how thick something is.
yeah,
And when you're talking about flow, every pen is going to be different. So I agree it's kind of a useless test, but at the same time, it kind of gives you an idea for people when they're using art to have a good idea of if you're using a lighter ink and a thicker flowing ink, then they might be able to have two different types of reactions with each other. And the reason that I know this is because, what did I do with it? What did I do with it? No. Okay, I have, oh, here it is. I'm dumb. So this is Noodler's Rome Burning, and it obviously has some interesting things going on. You can definitely tell that there's a purple ink and like an orange ink in there, right? So they'll have different amounts of reaction to each other, and they'll do different things. So I think that it's useful in some aspects and not useful in others.
Well, I mean, one of the things that are in your videos, and Ink Guy, is you do, or on your Instagram things, you will write and then you'll put a big, don't you? Is this you or is this someone else? Gosh, I'm not confused. Do you wet the ink and then sort of let it spread out, or is that someone else?
No, that's me. That's
you.
this.
That's you. Well, no, but someone else did it too, and I think Gary Scott are
Chris Signs. I have gobs of these things.
Maybe it's Gary Scott that did it.
No, Gary doesn't make videos.
He doesn't make videos, but he posts on Instagram.
Oh, that or maybe it's his wife, Kathy.
Oh, well, I know. I see these things here, and he's in the room. He can explain it himself, I guess, if he wants. But it's just, normally when I think of someone, a writer using, or even a calligrapher using, 9 times out of 10, they're going to use an ink in the pen and they're going to make a word with it and they'll call it a day. They're not going to get a paintbrush out and add water and let it bleed. For the
unless that's the intended effect.
And
I have learned that when certain times of the year, you may want your fountain pen ink to feather out into the page and look like ice crystals.
Yeah, that's very true.
I use this paper. It's called the Premier Premium Journal from the 99-cent store. It's like the crappiest paper on the face of the planet. However, if you use certain types of ink on it, it looks like, I don't know if I can show you. I will use my phone. I will show you that you can make it look like ice crystals.
Will Hodge asks, what do you feel about lubricated inks, Mr. Ink Guy?
Is it the Monteverde has that kind of what is it, ITF?
ITF.
I think that writes. I think what I think they're doing with their lubricated ink is making it flow between it. I think the lubrication we're seeing is between the nib and the paper, and I think it does it really well. Noodlers has a lubricated ink that's not about lubricating between the nib and the paper, but is
lubricating
lubricating the pen. So
which
go ahead.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, unless you're
I mean, I don't know where lubrication. I remember Parker used to have an ink, or Schaefer, I forget. It cleans while it writes, and it was an ink that wouldn't clog. And I don't know what.
roll my eyes.
But lubricating. To me, I don't. I'm just trying to understand even what that would mean.
Well, so when I think of the lubricating, for instance, with the Noodlers, and it is the pen.
Okay.
I'm thinking about the piston part, not the piston inside the mechanism of the piston.
Yeah.
But the actual, the plunger part of the piston that's on the walls.
Right.
So sometimes you have to get in there and you wind up having to lubricate those parts.
Oh, I see.
I think it's very good for that. I think it's if you have, kind of like that. I think if you have a converter that's running really not well,
right,
then it could be something that can help you out with that. But I don't think think they're all the same thing.
Yeah. So it's not about making the ink more easily get to the page. It's about just keeping the inside of the engine clean.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, this is
which, like, if you have a pen like an Officina Italiana, that you can't take apart, that would be helpful. But like, if you have a converter or like even a piston filler that you can disassemble, why would you even need that? It doesn't make much sense. It only works for the piston or the pens that you can't take apart. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry, talking to myself. Totally missed where I wanted to be, but. Well, so yeah, when it comes to the lubricated inks, if you're talking about like the Monteverde that I think does create a smoother feel in the writing.
It definitely does.
But it doesn't, it shouldn't be what your pen needs.
Right.
I'm not saying that as any kind of bad thing against the ink, but your pen shouldn't need lubrication to work other than an ink. And the only reason that now, if you come back and you're saying lubrication with the ink and how it feels on the page, that's where I've learned the viscosity actually matters.
The problem with some of the Monteverde inks, though, is that, they're too wet and they feather really badly into the paper. I just did a whole bunch of Monteverde inks because I won this pack of the Sweet Life, and almost all of these, except for like 2 or 3 of them, like feather into all the papers. So, which is,
I don't know. I use a bunch of drier pens that I enjoy, and I think that frees up things. Everybody wants the wet gusher pen, and
unless
I don't
have a bad ink. Doesn't want to
but
be
it's not. But
cooperative.
it's not necessarily a bad ink. It's just that those two aren't going together real well.
Try a drier pen or a finer pen.
But I'll say it like I see a lot of people that I'm going to wind up having to put copy paper in my reviews as a regular thing, which I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand the desire to use copy paper.
I think that if you're going for that type of a look, like I said, the only reason that I use copy paper is in December when I have Jeroboam Kyanite du Nepal, and I want it to feather into the paper and look like it's got crystals coming out of it.
Oh.
I mean, it has its artistic uses. That's the only time. But I mean, if you're trying to get it to be normal and monoline or even flex line and not have anything feather out from it, then I agree. It has no purpose. Like, why are you using cheap paper? Just spend the 50 cents, go to Target, and buy yourself some Unison composition book. This stuff is amazing. Like, I cannot talk it up enough. It's just
There's a guy I follow who's a drawer, and he does beautiful drawings with vintage fountain pens, flexible nibs, and he draws on napkins at the restaurant, paper napkins, and he makes magnificent drawings using paper napkins. And I'm just shocked at how well they look, because you'd think that he would have to draw very fast to keep him just from absorbing all of the ink out of the pen. But somehow he's able to do it, and he does it great.
Paul Antonio does that sometimes. I'm like, how on earth do you keep it from bleeding into the page? Like,
yeah, but then you're just down to talking about really that person liking that medium, you know.
No, you are speaking of,
like, I only draw on this type of paper when I'm really screwing around and none of it means anything.
yes,
right.
Because I know that mixed media paper doesn't do well. You know, but it does well enough for this. Even right. This, it does well enough for this, but it doesn't feather the ink out, so it does perfectly fine.
Right.
You know. But I don't understand copy paper.
No, there's and then there's copy paper, and then there's other copy paper. So but I'm going to see if I can find an image of one of Eric's drawings here on napkins. I enjoy drawing with media that is iffy. I do drawings on paint chips where I'm actually drawing on paint that's silk screened onto paper to show you what color your house is going to be. And
okay.
there's no absorption. The ink just beads up on it, but it has some really interesting effects that I love. Here's one right here. You know, and the ink beads up, and then I smear it around with my finger and water, and then I draw on it again. It's actually quite interesting, but I would never recommend it for anyone that wants to do something for real, because would be impossible to control.
So it's something you like doing just to be able to mess around.
Well, I don't want to say that the effects are not artistic and valid. I just know that it's not something I can control easily, and it wouldn't be something I would think would be something I would recommend to someone, I guess. I mean, it's normally we teachers try to teach people to use a tool correctly, you know, to use the correct side of the hammer to hit the nail on the head in the middle. You know, you want them to use it, swing it the right way. Yes, you can pound a nail in using some other part of the hammer, but the idea is it would be hard for me to sing the praises or to teach someone how to use this weird silk screen paint swatch thing. But I also will say, when I'm at a pen show, I've got quart bottles of 50-year-old ink, 60 or 70-year-old ink that is faded, but it'll last you for the rest of your life if what you want to do is practice your circles for your calligraphy. You know, when you want to do the real work, you get out your bottle of Waterman or whatever. But if you're just going to be practicing and going through reams of paper all day long, don't use up expensive ink. Use this faded stuff. It'll work perfectly fine.
Right.
Let me see if I can find one of these drawings.
The only thing about that is it's kind of understanding. There's a fine line between getting a feel for an ink, because there will be times where I'll think, oh, I don't like that one ink. And then I'll go and I'll try it again in a different pen, and I'll be like, this is great. But if you use the older stuff and then you switch to the newer stuff, or you switch to a better product, it has a totally different feel.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yes, paper. I think actually paper is more important than the ink when you're trying to learn how to move the pen around, and because the ink you can always upgrade. The paper, drawing on crappy paper is not ever going to be helpful. I don't think.
No.
I think you need, to find whatever kind of paper you want. If it's watercolor, if you're doing watercolor, you don't want to draw on smooth paper with watercolor. You want it to be on that bumpy stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to learn how to make it go.
Well, you could use hot press if you wanted. Hot press is the smooth watercolor paper.
Yeah. I mean, you can use. I can draw. I mean, you can put brush with watercolor on any piece of paper you want. But if you want to really make use of the medium, using paper that's made for that medium is the best way to go about it. Okay, is this a napkin? I bet this is a napkin. So look at this. Look at this image here.
Uh-huh.
See that?
Oh, wow.
That's on a napkin.
Holy bucket.
And he does it without it sucking every drop of ink out of the pen.
That's incredible. That's talent right there.
It's he must just like hold the pen just slightly. There's just like here's another one. Here's another napkin.
Wow.
He's using a fountain pen, but look at that.
What kind of a pen is he using?
He's using a. It looks like one of. It looks.
Well, let me see it if you can see it.
Well, I can see it. Looks like it has a metal.
That's a platinum preppy.
Okay. He does have vintage Watermans and stuff that he's used on napkins too.
Yeah, the preppies are great because they have a kind of a dryish feed. Their feed is weird. I have one, and I don't like using it because the feed is horrible to clean out.
My camera's going to be weird for a minute.
Okay.
Look at this. Look at this, Marilyn.
What is it?
Merry Christmas.
Aww.
On a napkin.
That's on a napkin. Oh my god.
Napkin. So how does he do that?
That's incredible.
I've asked him to be a guest of mine sometime, and he said he would, but he's been busy. But I just find his I mean, also when he does his napkin drawings, he tends to be less he's more fun. He draws things that are more fun. When he draws in his sketchbook, they're almost always architectural renderings.
Right.
And when he draws on napkins, it's usually monsters and dragons and stuff.
See, this is a platinum preppy,
Yeah, that's
but watch. When you pull it and feed out, this is the feed. And the fins stay inside of the tube.
that's useless.
I know, right?
Okay. Oh dear. Sorry about that. I have a text I have to take, so just a minute,
Okay.
guys.
All right. I think I'm getting my camera fixed.
Yeah.
You guys, do you mind if I need to go down to the lobby for a few minutes?
Get yourself a treat.
So you guys just keep talking, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. I talked to a group of people that were here, and they're in the courtyard sketching, and I just thought I should go see them before they go away.
Okay.
So I'll be back. You guys talk.
What? How far in advance are you of posting your videos, Adam?
Right now, about 6 months.
Oh wow, that's incredible. No wonder when I asked you about that ink, you were like, "It's long gone." And I was like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, because sometimes you post the video about the ink, and I'm like, "Honey, that doesn't exist anymore. We can't see it. It's gone."
Oh. No, I know, but you know what happens is I have a choice on some of these inks when they come around to either not post it because it's not out anymore.
Right.
Well, then we should get rid of all videos of everything that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, I think that they have a place in their time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but so the thing is, then, for instance, I don't know, has Parker Penman Sapphire come up yet? I don't know.
I don't know. Let me see.
I know less about what's actually, like, that's why I take notes.
Right.
So let me take a look.
Parker Penman. Parker Washable Blue. Parker. Nope. Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long while because I've been working on the writing. I haven't actually edited or any of that stuff together. That's why. But so if I do a video on Parker Penman Sapphire, is it worth it?
I don't know.
Well, people like that ink. People want to be able to see it with stuff. So maybe it is worth it just to have a record. Now, what I don't like happens, it drives me nuts, not because of the videos, but is when a company re-releases an ink.
And it's like a micron off. Yeah.
Well, we reformulated it. Really?
Right.
Are you back in the 80s making the ultimate mixtape and you have to always call it the ultimate mixtape even though the songs change?
Yup, exactly.
So I hate that in that it's like you have a new formula, then you have a new ink. That's fine.
Right. Just call it something different.
I'm even okay when they just call it version 2.
Right, exactly.
But
what I don't like is when they're like, okay, this is version 2, but it's like 12 shades different from the original shade. Or
so
like
I'm willing to spend the time. I'm willing to spend the time and do inks that aren't out anymore. That doesn't, just because they're not out doesn't mean you can't get them.
Right, exactly. Like there's still Lamy Dark Lilac out there, I'm sure, somewhere.
Well, you know, here's another one. I don't know if the video came up yet. It should be. It should have come up. Let me look at this. Okay. Edelstein Garnet. I did have that video come out. Like I can remember what inks I've done a lot, but
Right.
as far as where are they in the queue, I have no idea.
Right.
But so Edelstein Garnet. Well, that ink, I filmed it, and after I filmed it, and then I was going and I was doing the voiceover, and it had been re-released.
Oh my gosh.
And that was fine. That doesn't bother me. I'm actually happy because I really like that ink. But the thing
Did they
is
change
that,
the formula?
no,
Oh wow. Well,
no,
that's
it's the same formula. So the thing is that if there was nothing out there with people talking about that ink would not have come back. That is a red ink that I enjoy a lot.
right. Right. Recently, I've been looking for the right purple, and recently I've discovered Mont Blanc psychedelic purple. You know they want like nearly $50 for a 50 ml bottle.
Yeah.
That is insane. Are these people
Well,
crazy?
but if that's what you're going to wind up saying, but this is what I want. So if that's what you want, if that's what you want, why don't you just go ahead and get your own ink made as that? Not, I'm not even saying get it made as a production to sell it. Just get it made for yourself.
Right.
That's a good idea. Of course, I have Larry Baronis gave me a mixing kit for Christmas, and it's got like red, yellow, and blue, and magenta and black.
Okay.
And I've done like 2 or 3 mixings of inks, and I'm not very good at it. they all end up brown.
Yeah, that's where I really like watercolor. I can mix inks fairly well and actually recreate a lot of colors fairly well. I only know this from playing with it, where I was sitting there one day and I was like, oh, and I think this one will do it. And I think and I can get fairly close usually on a first mix, but that's a color mixing thing. I'll make it even worse. If you really want the worst part of all of my videos, I'm colorblind.
What?
So all of my color correction takes me forever. And so if I can actually describe what I'm seeing.
Are you red-blue colorblind, or are you yellow-green?
Yes.
Yellow-green colorblind?
Yes. Yes. I don't see red and green, white and green, red and white, yellow and white. Yellow and green is sometimes, I don't like driving at night on unfamiliar roads. I can't tell the traffic lights from the street lights.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's scary.
All right. The Marine Corps blues I know are blue but look black. The Marine Corps service uniform, I know it's green. I think it looks brown. So I've actually spent a lot of time getting used to how I see colors.
That would be a tricky little thing to have to. If you have paint, you can kind of see what.
Oh, no,
what the numbers say about each of the colors?
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing about paint. So people have seen my painting and are always amazed that actually my paintings match.
Oh, I meant the application paint, but
oh no. Well, I have Photoshop and I can do that, but
yeah.
And so, for instance, if I'm trying to mix color in Photoshop, I can't do it. My pictures look horrible.
Oh, wow.
But so then what I do if I have to do that is actually I go and I create the color palette on paper. I bring a photo into Photoshop. I do the white balance and the color correction on a known color. And I will have all of my mixed colors So if for instance, if I am using yellow and blue and green in a picture, I know that it will match as long as we're dealing with a green that comes from that yellow and blue.
Right. Well,
Then it will match.
the way that they say that you're supposed to do color correction is by the paper. Find the whitest piece of paper that you have.
No, that's
And-
white balance. White balance is not the same as color as the color.
Right. Take the whitest color that you can find, and then the blackest color that you can find. And I think it's like 5,500. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've had color theory. But there's like oh god, I don't even know how to explain it.
No, I understand that, but white balance isn't necessarily the same thing as color correction.
Yeah, I know that. It's so difficult to get color because everyone's cameras are different, everyone's monitors are different.
Yeah, but again, I don't worry about it.
I think that the main thing that people are looking for these days is if it's going to stay evenly lined on a page and that it doesn't bleed, it doesn't seep to the next page or bleed through or ghost. I mean, everything else is pretty much subjective. Even shading and sheening, depending on paper and availability on paper. Tomoe River is shutting down.
Well, I wouldn't worry too much.
I mean,
You guys, I now have to deal with some other stuff that's happening. I just realized. So, an ink guy. Can I know your real name, or will I?
Adam.
Be killed? Adam.
Yeah.
thought that was it, but I don't know whether I ever knew that. But Adam, nice to have you here. Marilyn, nice seeing you. I need to. My cat woke me up at 2:30, and that was not a good thing for the cat to do. So I need to just crash because I'm not functioning anymore. So, and I spent most of the morning talking with Adobe about trying to get Photoshop on my laptop so I can do work while I'm in Minnesota. So I think it worked. I have to check that out too. So thank you, Adam, for coming on here. I see you've got the Brooklyn Bridge, and we'll catch you later.
All right.
Oh, love you, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.